So here's a tip for all my single friends, men and women. If loyalty is important to you, as it should be in every good relationship, find yourself a Chicago Bears fan. If they've been a Chicago Bears fan for over 10 years, they're probably pretty loyal. And that is a good sign. The NFL has created some incredible stories over the last week. Obviously, we will dive into most of them on this episode. But look, here's where I want to start. New York is, I understand, a place that is hard to play any sport. That's what they keep telling us, right? And I imagine it is. Media capital of the world, and everything that comes around playing for New York. But and New York has created a lot of headlines in the last just week in general. But they usually do every week, if not every off season, with the multiple sports. Now what they've done in the NFL with the Jets and the Giants in the past week is fairly remarkable, to be honest with you. And I don't know how to really quantify what happens. Here's my thing with New York. Is it that you're a hard place to play, or you actually are not a place that has ownership that wants to win? John Mara will give it to him. Okay, the Giants have won a Super Bowl twice with Eli. And they did it in a fashion that, was so New York, right? Underdog, you make the playoffs very late, and then you go on a historic run in the playoffs and you beat the Patriots. So we'll give it to him. But if you look at New York team ownership, right? There's a lot that's like, it's a little head scratchy. Right, the Jets are cursed. We've talked about them, right? Woody Johnson, he's great as an Ambassador Johnson. We understand that he might be going back to that post after number 47 is inaugurated into the White House. So we'll see what happens there. But some of the decisions he's made, right, over the last 20 some years that he's owned the team are so questionable that I feel like it is the reason why they have continually stayed in that mode of being cursed. That's just how I feel, right? And if you look at the New York Knicks, it's the same thing. It's the ownership. Players can play well, they can do all this, but it's never enough. So what is it? Is it that the New York market's too hard to play for, or is it that the culture created in New York by the actual ownership and the team itself is too toxic of an environment for you to also succeed in? Obviously, I imagine it's a combination of both, but my thing is this. When you bring in a guy like Aaron Rodgers, right, that's won at the highest level, that's played at the highest level, who's been a 4-time league MVP, and one of the best quarterbacks ever, and you make him look like that, I don't know if that, that's not Aaron. That's you. Right? That's your organization making him be that. And I get it. You gave Aaron a lot of a lot of say in the day-to-day happenings in your organization, but it hasn't panned out. And is it all on him? He didn't want Rob Saleh fired. Right? So that's number one. And if the reports are true and Bob Saleh was going to make the Nathaniel Hackett OC move to Todd Downing anyways, it's like, what are we doing? Right? I don't think that's Aaron. Right? And the other thing is that he played for a historic franchise for 20 years, 18 years. Right? So come on, man. And with that being said, here's my pitch, right? As a Raiders fan, I've had to endure a lot of tough times. This last 7 years has been probably tougher than the last. But I'm going to tell y'all something. I think as a Raiders community in general, the Chiefs are the Chiefs, right? They hit on the quarterback and they hit on a head coach. They were pretty good without Pat, though, right? Like Alex Smith had him rolling as well. So their team construction was really good. But then they hit on a quarterback and a system, right? So the Chiefs are the Chiefs. We understand what they are. But as a Raiders fan, right, there's a disdain of the Broncos and the Chargers much more than it is with the Chiefs. Because we felt like for a while there, right, the Raiders were the second best team in that division. And regardless of what the other two teams did, we were going to be right there. Especially with Derek Carr and John Gruden. Right, when Gruden left, it kind of changed. It was like, we're not sure what to expect here. But we made some questionable hirings. We'll be honest with that. I think the ownership with Mark Davis, he's been honest with that. And he listens to a lot of people that, probably don't know enough about the culture and the organization in general to make those levels of input, right? But he's now sold off another 15% of the team. So here's my pitch. If we're going to get a Shedeur Sanders anyways, let's say we get the first, second, or third pick in this coming draft. If the Vegas Raiders are going to get a Shedeur Sanders anyways, because we have to. There's no other situation where we can have. We were in for CJ Stroud, didn't get him. We were in for Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix last year, didn't get them. And now we had a nightmare draft last year. Yeah, a consolation prize of Brock Bowers is not bad, but everything that transpired in that draft was terrible, right? Because we thought as the Raiders we could stay pat at 13, and one of the 6 quarterbacks are going to fall to us, whether it be Penix, Bo Nix, and then obviously the idea of getting Jaden Daniels is that we were going to have to go up to second. Right, and I'm just not saying that none of those situations were long shots, but we definitely thought we were going to come out with a quarterback last year, and we didn't. Right, so missing out on Shedeur now is absolutely not something that can take place. So my thing is this: if we're going to get Shedeur anyways, let's get Aaron for a year. He doesn't want to be in New York anyways now. I don't think he should be. I didn't love the move when he made it, to be honest with you. I didn't. I thought, the Titans were a better place for him to be. I thought the Raiders were a better place for him to be. Right? And I think this makes sense. If we're going to get Shedeur anyways, let's make Shedeur sit a year with Aaron. It's not that bad. I think if we get Aaron in, right, you see what you have as an offense, as a true functioning offense before you throw in a rookie quarterback in. And the other thing is we don't know if AP is going to survive this year. And I know that sucks because you're given this opportunity as a first-time head coach after having the interim tag lifted, right? You get an opportunity with the franchise you love, the whole Raider way and everything that comes with it, and you come into this year thinking, we're going to be a pretty competitive team. Regardless of how many games we win, we're going to be really competitive in a lot of different aspects, right? And now it just looks like, a lot of your messaging didn't work. And we're looking in the mirror like, this shit ain't working right now. So after 1 year, I'm not sure if AP survives. I'm not sure if AP survives after 1 year in Vegas. And I'm not going to sit up here and say, I'll be surprised by any of it either. I get it. You know what I mean? It's like the urgency to win is so high that, you can't just not have, situations where we are not competitive against our division. And I get, we want to lose some of these games. But, look, I'm not cool with losing at all, but I'm also like if we're going to get a top pick, right? Here's my thing. We can lose any game. We can't lose to the Chargers and the Broncos. We just can't. The Chiefs, you want to beat them every time you play them, but like they're a tough team to beat. They don't give you a game. You have to go beat them. If you look at Christmas last year in 2023, right? If you look at that Christmas Day game, like we had to go win that game, right? They made a lot of mistakes, but we made them make a lot of mistakes. We had to go win. And I feel like if you look at what the Chiefs are, and, they come out of week 13, week 12 with week 12 with a narrow win against the Carolina Panthers, and you're looking at them like, yo, what's going on with the Chiefs? How are you giving up 27 points to the Panthers? But it's, they find ways to win. And that's why I've said it for a long time as a Raiders fan. It's like, yo, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. It's tough. It's tough to talk shit about the Chiefs. Because as a fan of football in general, when you're just watching, you're like, damn, man. Like, it's tough to beat 1-5 and it's tough to beat Big Red. That's just the reality of the NFL right now, right? You have to go beat them. They're not going to give you a game. And so my thing is like, if you're the Raiders, man, like you have to beat the Broncos. Rookie quarterback comes in to Vegas, and Bo Nix drops. He was very good. He looked comfortable. He looked like he had trust in the offense, the offensive line, and Sean obviously has a lot of trust in them. My thing is this: I don't know if AP survives, because now you get Jim Harbaugh, you get Andy Reid, and you get Sean Payton. Like, does he have it in him to, beat the three of those guys on a consistent basis to be competitive in our own division, let alone the AFC? I want to hope so. Again, I'm not on board with this idea that I think, a culture change can happen within a year or a year and a half. I don't think that that's true. I didn't love a lot of the hirings AP made. I didn't love the Luke Getsy hiring. I didn't like the idea of keeping Patrick Graham either. If you're going to change your culture and bring in your own, then change it completely, dog. And I know people are gonna say that, yo, we wanted Cliff, and look, we didn't get Cliff. There was an expectation in place for what our plan was going forward, and when Cliff heard that, he was like, nah, man, I'm gonna go to a place where I can draft a number 2 overall and actually put in an offense in place that has some pieces that I can build around. The Raiders just don't have that right now. They just don't. The run game is atrocious. The short passing game doesn't work well. Right? Like so many things have to go right for them to be competitive. I will say this, though. The offensive line has played a lot better. Not as many penalties. The centers played really well. So there's some things to take away from. Now, obviously, we lose Gardner Minshew Mania for the year. Broken collarbone, I believe. Just a really tough situation. When it rains, it pours. And again, I understand that we want to get a top pick and get a Shedeur Sanders in Vegas, but we have to beat our division, dude. You have to be competitive against your own division. And I'm not saying that in week 12 we weren't competitive against Denver, but we weren't competitive enough. And my problem is that there's just that element building that we don't really like to see in as a Raiders fan base, where the Denver Broncos feel like they can come into Vegas and handle our team like the way that they did in week 12. Because if you remember, we've beat them 8 straight times. Like that is a game that we try to win every time, regardless of what the team situation is, regardless who's playing quarterback, regardless of who's the coach. We try to win that game. And it's the same thing with the Chargers. You try to win that game every single time. It doesn't matter what your situation is. Right? And I just felt like, I think if we get Aaron in right now, we draft a Shedeur Sanders, right? We get Aaron in, and let's see. Let's see what we can be, and let's give Shedeur some time to learn, because I'm tired of seeing these rookie quarterbacks go in, and when they don't play well, we kill them, and when they're not playing well, and then that they needed time, but we throw them in there, and you think that your offense, everything that you're calling is so good that, but your rookie quarterback just can't run it. Now we have to bench him and do all this. Like, come on, man. Give me a break. Give me a damn break, dude. Right? We've seen it all over the league. We saw it with Anthony Richardson. And I'm going to tell you something about the Anthony Richardson thing. Coming out of Florida, right? Behind Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. Was it Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud that year? Yeah. Behind those two, coming out of Florida, right? The biggest thing about AR was that he needed time. He's still very young, right? And he was going to need some time of development. What you fell in love with, and the reason he went 3rd overall, or wherever he went, 4th overall or something, the reason why he went that high is because the intangibles are so good that you can build everything else. He started from day one. Right? He started from day one. And then when he gets hurt, right, they go with Gardner Minshew. That happens all of last year. And then this year, you start him, and he made some plays. He didn't make the other plays. And now you bench him and you go with Joe Flacco. Flacco comes in, does some good, does some bad. Now you go back to, and it's just this whole situation where it's like, come on, man. Come on. The one thing we all agreed on was that AR needed some time. And the one franchise picking in the top 5 that didn't have the time was the Colts. It's still the Colts. You've paid everybody, and now you think that, your quarterback needs to be on the same level of all your offensive line that you paid millions of dollars to. Your defensive front, your defensive secondary that you paid a lot of money to, right? You think that because you have a team and you were just a quarterback away, that you just were going to plug and play a 22-year-old and think that he was going to take you to the promised land. Like, that's just not it. It's just not it. And I just feel like with rookie quarterbacks, either you give them the time or you have a time in place where how long they're gonna play, right? So if you're gonna put in Drake May from day one, okay, Drake is gonna make some mistakes. We're gonna ride through it. The New England Patriots are not in a position to win the Super Bowl anyway, so it's like, we're gonna live with the mistakes for however long this takes, and then we have a 2-year limit. If he does not show signs of being a franchise quarterback after 2 years, after 2 seasons, we'll kind of evaluate from then. You have to have some level of time on it. I understand that as well, but again, I'm not. Nobody's against sitting a rookie for a year. In Jordan Love's case, 3 years. We ain't against that. And then my other thing is like, man, Aaron is, again, one of the best that ever played. He's mentored a guy that looks like, he is the guy in Jordan Love. So he's already been in a position of mentorship, and that has worked out. And I feel like he can do it again. And this time it'll be a little bit different because we're not drafting Aaron's replacement. Right? I just think it works out. And I'll be honest with you, I can't really think of any other team that it works for. Right? If you look at every team in the National Football League, it just feels like there's no other team that really fits with where Aaron could play for a year or 2, let's say, right? At the max and 2. I just, I don't think he's going to retire after the year he's had in New York. I just don't. So what other place does it make sense for him to go? Right? Like there's no, in my opinion, there's no other team that makes sense. There just isn't. You know, you can say maybe the Tennessee Titans, but even that doesn't make sense. So you know, I'm not sure what happens. I think the Raiders have to be in on Bill as well. I think they have to be in on Belichick. Like, if you're going to let AP go, right? I think the Tom Brady coming into the building, you know, you're gonna get a Shador Sanders. I think with how where your division is and how your division is going to look, right? Bo Nix looks pretty good, right? The Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert experiment out there looks pretty good, and we all know what 15 and Big Red are anyway. So if you're going to have to go up against those three every year for however long, like let's get a coach and a culture builder in there. And let's pair Aaron with them, because I know Bill loves Aaron, and we get a year out of him. And let's see, you know, if we can hire and build in that way. I just don't want to be in this mediocrity for much longer, right? And I get, like, you know, it's not gonna happen overnight. But I think that if you hire the right places, all it takes is one draft. If Shadur's ready to play from day one, sure, but from my understanding, and I don't know for a fact, but from my understanding and evaluating and listening to all these draft draft experts and everything like that, it's like, yo, this class isn't that good anyways, right? If that's the case, and when you evaluate you know, these quarterbacks, and you're thinking like, yo, there might be two that go in the top 5, but that's probably not where they should go because they're not ranked that high, and they might not be day one starters in the NFL anyways, right? You have to make them that. So like, I get all that as well. So then, like, let's go this other route and see if we can get a bridge in between for a year. Now, I'm not sure exactly what's going to take place. I just feel like I would throw it out there that, you know, if Aaron wants to come to Vegas, we will happily have him in Las Vegas for a year at least. You know, I just can't think of any other place that he could go and he would want to go to. I just can't. And I know he would want to play one more year at least. But, like, this is my thing, is like with, you know, with rookie quarterback. For example, right, if you're the Minnesota Vikings and the way that Sam Darnold's played, right, I understand you get J.J. McCarthy at number 10. He gets he goes through a surgery and he's gonna miss the entire year. But if you've looked at the way that Sam has played, right, if you look at the way that Sam has played, how can you let somebody like that walk out of your building after the 1 year, knowing you have no idea what J.J. McCarthy will be in that offense? And I'm not saying that he's not going to be great or anything like that, because I've truly said many times before that if there's one head coach right now that I trust on the offensive side of the ball, it's Kevin O'Connell. I think that he can scheme up, you know, anybody. And he's very good at the offensive side of the football. So I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying, like, when you watch Sam Darnold play and the way that he's executed your, you know, playbook, how can you let him walk out the building after 1 year when you are, you know, 8 or 9-3 or 9-2? Like, I just don't know if they can. Here's what I would do personally. If I was the Minnesota Vikings, right, I would take, I would offer Sam a 3-year deal. Tell him, yo, we'll take you for a 3-year deal, right? The league average is around 50 something, 45 to 55 million, right? We'll give you 40 million a year, right? Because you're still on a prove it deal with us, right? Like, but this worked for both of us in our favors. You make money, right? you're in a situation where you like it, we like it, right? And you are going to be the starter. We will see what JJ is later. And if JJ doesn't play in Minnesota, so be it. That's honestly what I think. I just don't think you can let Sam walk out the building. I think that he's too good, that he has played too well for you, that, he's young enough. You give him a short-term deal, not crazy money either, 35, 40 million a year. And I think that both sides are happy. But if JJ has to sit another, 2-3 years behind Sam, like, so be it, right? If Sam gets hurt in his first, 2 years, let's say, then JJ comes in and we'll see what that is from there. To me, it's like they are in a position where they can do that. Now, if you flip on the flip side, right, like Caleb Williams, He's played a lot better these last 2 weeks than he has in the past, right? But if you look at what the narrative around him was after week 9 in the NFL, it was that, this guy might be a bust. This guy might be a bust, and now people are like, oh, he can make some plays. He had 340 passing yards. We can go on and on about the onside kick, because that was, I don't know what the Vikings were doing on that situation. The Bears obviously, recover, and whatever that was. But Caleb has made a lot of good decisions. I feel like he's thrown the ball well. He's seeing it well. But since the Hail Mary, they haven't won a game. They have not won a game since the Hail Mary. And, but on a week-to-week basis in the NFL, the narrative changes so much. It changes so much, man. And I just have to give him a lot of credit for everything that I think he's shown in the last couple of weeks, because I really think if you haven't gotten a chance to watch Caleb in this last game against the Minnesota Vikings, go try to watch that. He looked very different than he has in the last couple of weeks. So, but again, it's just like the narrative changes so much, so week to week. It's like, if somebody is having success in your system, like let's keep him there, right? Because if you're the Chicago Bears, right, if Caleb, now there's talks about them changing coach and this, that, and the other. It's like, man, if I'm going to get a young quarterback, there has to be some level of stability. There has to be, man. And this is my biggest problem with the Bears and all these franchises that are constantly in this situation, the Raiders included. I'm not excluding them. I'm just saying, it's like, when if you're gonna draft somebody that at the number 1 overall pick and be in this situation, it's like, give them some level of stability in your organization. Now you're thinking of fighting Matt Eberflus, and in his second year he's gonna have a new head coach. Maybe he hasn't before the second year, and Matt doesn't even make it as the head coach for the rest of 2024. But he's already gone through an OC change, and I don't know. To me, it's like, you're kind of setting people up to have dips and go through lulls, right? Because, and then, we came into this year, and it wasn't me. I'll be honest with you. It was not me, but I heard this a lot, that coming into this year, it's like Chicago has the best situation for any rookie quarterback has ever gone into, and this, that, and the other, and Caleb's going to have success right away. Come on, man. Come on. Now, did we see the success from the Jaden Daniels in Washington? Obviously, they've been on a little bit of a bender, okay, recently, but did we see that success coming? Probably not. No. right? Did we think that they were going to be 7-2 after 9 games? No. But I did think that the Cliff Kingsbury was a good hire for them. And I did think that they were going to be competitive. But they had a lot of question marks on their defense. And, but we didn't think that they were going to be that competitive. The only quarterback that I thought was walking into a pretty good situation was probably Bo Nix. If you look at what the Denver defense has been over the last 3-4 years, is that they have kept them in a lot of games. And, I just thought that, Bo was probably stepping into the best situation if he was going to be good. We didn't know if he was going to be, able to run the offense that Sean likes to run, because Sean's offense is very intricate, right? Not everybody's built for that. It's a lot of things you need to memorize. It's a lot of things that you need to know. It's a lot of that quick game, right? But there's a lot of information that a quarterback needs to take in Sean Payton's offense, right? That's why Drew did really well with them for so long. But that's the only person I thought as a quarterback was walking into the right situation. I don't think Minnesota even is still a situation for J.J. McCarthy right now. So my thing with it is like, if Sam Darnold walks, he's going to be a really good free agent, I think, quarterback. But that doesn't mean that, you can pay him over, $40 million and expect that you're going to have the same result as you're having. Like, the play calling and everything, the situation, it just matters so much. So if I'm the Raiders, I cannot be in on Sam Darnold, but I can be in on an aging quarterback that I know can make something happen with anything. So that's where I'm at with that. Look, if you're asking me right now who the offensive rookie of the year is, it's probably Bo Nix. But because I'm biased, I think I would go Brock Bowers. And if you're asking me that, who should be our league MVP, at this time it's probably Saquon Barkley and everything that he's meant to Philadelphia. But I wanted to put this out there. This might be the first year that an MVP, and I don't think this will happen, but an MVP goes to a running back in the NFL, and the Heisman Trophy goes to a running back in college football, in Ashton Jeanty, which that would be that. In the same year, that would be really insane, especially after everything that the position has gone through over the last, 3-4 years. They've been so devalued. It is absolutely insane. As a Raiders fan, I hated that we lost Josh Jacobs, because I love Josh Jacobs. I think Jacobs, the way that he runs through tackles is insane, dude. And obviously, John Mara, the owner of the New York Football Giants, I can't imagine what he is doing every time he watches a Philadelphia Eagles game. I couldn't even imagine everything that he's gone through, because it is hilarious. And the way that it all came to light with the Hard Knocks and the general manager, Joe Shane, not wanting to pay Saquon Barkley, instead wanting to pay Daniel Jones, and now Daniel Jones is released from the Giants, and Saquon Barkley is having a historic year at the running back position. It's like, this is the most Giants thing that could have ever happened, and it just is. It's like, how can you make the New York Giants have not made two correct moves in a row in at least the last 5-6 years. They just haven't. The Evan Neal drafting it, like, with all the injuries that they've had at that position, he still hasn't gotten a time on the field. That is insane to me. As what, the top 10 pick, like, absolutely crazy. But again, like, it is what it is. Right, and I'm not even going to blame the coach. I don't love Brian Daboll, because I think that He's a good play caller. I don't know if he's a leader of men. That's well enough to be the head coach, especially if everybody keeps telling us that New York is a tough place to play. It's probably a tougher place to coach than anything either. So if you're gonna tell me that, then like I don't think that Brian Dable is the guy. Then I just don't. I don't love how he handles the media either, and I feel like Bob Saleh, that was his biggest downfall, is that he didn't fully get to a place where he understood how to handle the New York media, and that's what makes it hard to play in New York. It's what makes it hard to coach in New York, and everything in between. But yeah, I just love how the running back position is able to come back, and we have gone to more of that run style offense in the NFL because there's been make no mistake about it. If you want to win in the NFL, you have to be able to run the ball in late November, December, January. You have to. You have to have a good run game, or you will not win in the playoffs. That's just the reality of what football has always been. If you look at even just recently, right, the Chiefs, they've been able to run the ball. You know why? You know why we don't think about it in the same way when it comes to the Chiefs? Because they're able to run the ball at any given time. That's the difference with the Chiefs, is that they don't have to establish a run game. Nah, they can throw the ball for the first like half and then come back and just be able to run the ball for the second half. That is what makes that team so tough, is that they just have that level of execution ability to go out there and just completely flip their game plan. So, but if you look at even just everybody recently, McCaffrey, like with the Niners, like everybody that's good, like you have to be able to run the ball late in the year, especially if you're a cold weather team. Like that's just one of those things where if you cannot run the ball, you will not be successful late in the year. Right? And I'm not saying anything that we don't already know. It's just like, why are more teams? That's why I never understood this concept of going away from it. It's like you kind of know how important it is late in the year for you to have a good running game. So how is it that we are devaluing that position or not like paying these guys like an adequate amount of money? I get pass catchers are really good, right? We want a good wide receiver. We want to pay them $35 million, but it's like 10 to 15 million for a running back like Saquon Barkley. That seems like bottom end money. That seems right. Like it just seems like bottom end money for somebody that has such a great impact on the game. And I don't know. I hope that changes for that position. I just feel like they bring way too much to the table for us to be like, yo, yeah, we're not going to pay them, that much. We're just going to continue to franchise tag them and this, that, and the other. It's like, yeah, we're going to prioritize other positions over the running back, which again, like we'll just go back to what the New York Giants have done. Right, like this episode is kind of based around the two New York teams, and we're gonna go back to like, what are we doing? Like releasing Daniel Jones. I'm not completely like shocked by it. I thought that was gonna happen at the start of the year. I'm not completely shocked by it. I just don't think it can happen at this stage of your season. If you're going to bench him. But I think like releasing him kind of sends like a terrible message to your locker room. It's like, yo, you're not actually trying to win. And I get it. They want to be in on Shedeur Sanders as well. They want to be in on Cam Ward and get a quarterback as well. So I completely understand. I just like, to me, it's like, come on. You're going to release the guy that you put your entire future upon, right? The guy that you chose over Saquon Barkley. And I'm not going to kill Daniel Jones on this show, but like, if we're being very, very honest, if you ask any New York Giant fan, when they watched Daniel Jones get picked at, was it 6th overall out of Duke, they didn't like the pick then. At no point have they loved Daniel Jones. At no point did they even like him. in New York. And I'm not saying that from any other perspective other than just as a fan. Just fans, bro. If you just ask Giants fans in general, they'll tell you, yo, we didn't like the pick when it happened, let alone the 6 years we had to endure of Daniel Jones. He had 4. You can count on your hands how many good games he had with the Giants. That's how absurd it is. It's so absurd to say that, but that's how absurd it is. You can count on your hands the amount of good games he had with the New York Football Giants, and he lasted 6 years. I don't understand it, but the leash that he had, and then you in the same breath you want to tell me that it's hard to play in New York. It's like, yo, in the biggest media market in the world, you let somebody like that get away with playing mediocre football for that long? Come on, man. Give me a break. That's ridiculous. And no point, if you even remotely, even if you're a casual NFL fan, at no point did you think that Daniel Jones was a franchise quarterback. He is a career backup. That was literally his draft. I'm not saying that the draft is by any means accurate, but I'm saying like the biggest narrative on Daniel Jones coming out of that draft was that he is a career backup. Now, with that being said, come to the Raiders, man. We'll take him. We'll mold him into some. We won't have him play safety because that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And this is why I've said, like, the Giants will never win. You're not ready to win with that type of mentality. You're going to have your $40 million quarterback that you're going to release any day now, have him play scout safety. That is absurd. That is absolutely absurd. It just screams that you're so amateur. You're such an amateur team that you have your starting quarterback that you've given $40 million to a year play scout team safety. How disrespectful. Absolutely absurd. And again, goes back to the point, like, you're not ready to win. You're not ready to win. So don't tell me that, yo, if we get, a Cam Ward, a Shedeur Sanders, we're back. We're going to win the NFC East. Like, you're not going to win anything because there's just too much. There's just too much for y'all to do for you to even be in contention. Let's be very clear here. You get a quarterback or anything like that in the next 2 years, you're still not going to be a top, you're going to still be the worst team in your division. Right? Like the Dallas Cowboys will be closer because they're a couple pieces away. They're running back away. Right? Obviously, Dak comes back. They'll be good again. They're not going to win anything, but they'll be good. The Commanders, with Jaden, a couple more years of Jaden, they're going to be a top team. And I've said this for a long time. The Philadelphia Eagles are the Eagles, man. Let's not be surprised by it now. Don't be surprised by it now. We knew what they were going to be. This is the expectation. Don't forget that. Yes, last year they were 10-1, and at no point did they look good. This team now at the current position that they're in at 9-2, they look much better than that 10-1 team ever did. And I haven't heard anybody apologize on national television to Nick Sirianni because they owe him a lot. So there needs to be national apologies coming from a lot of these so-called pundits, telling them he can't coach, questioning his IQ for the game. Like, how absurd, man. When he's winning, by the way. And I get Philly's a tough place to play as well. Passionate fans, this, that, and the other. But But these are not fans that are saying, fans can say what they want to say, but you're on national television questioning a sitting head coach's knowledge about football. Come on, man. That is absolutely absurd. And then when somebody else does it to another coach, now you want to get on them for doing it. But for Nick Sirianni, it's fair play. It's like, yo, man. Look at the records. Look at what he's been able to do with that team. And I'm not saying I'm the biggest Nick Sirianni fan and this, that. No, I'm not trying to glaze anybody and this, that, and the other. I'm just saying it's like he's a damn good head coach. He's a damn good head coach. Because everybody can always talk about, we can get somebody else in here and have. There's not that many head coaches that are good. That is just a reality of the NFL. Right? Every year we go through 7 to 8 openings in the NFL. Right? You know why that is? Is because some coaches only last a year or two. We just talked about how, AP might only last a year. So we just talked about that. Right? Some coaches might only last a year. And if you have a coach that is good, you want to hold on to them for dear life because it's not always greener on the other side. And I've always said that with Pittsburgh fans, man. When last year it got tough with Mike T and they were trying to drive his ass out of town. It's like, man, any team will take him right now. Because Mike T is somebody that has so much respect because of what he brings to a team. And I don't want to go through all the records that he holds, this, that, and the other. I think everybody understands it. But it's like, it's not always greener. So I haven't heard enough apologies from the other side. And I'll be the first to apologize to one head coach. And that's Mike McDonald in the Seattle Seahawks. Right, because I said I didn't disrespect him in any ways. I did question a lot of things when they let go of Pete Carroll. I did question a lot of things in Seattle. But the Seattle Seahawks have got 2 signature wins in the last 2 weeks. Right? You beat the San Francisco 49ers on a Geno walk-off. And you beat the Arizona Cardinals, who everybody was talking about, including me. Oh, the Cardinals are this, that, coming off of a bye. And you hold them to 6 points? 0 TDs given up on a malign defense that, hasn't done well at all in any aspect. We did know that their defensive secondary is really good. Julian Love, Devin Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen, right? They're all very good. But Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy, they're really coming along, and they were able to hold Kyler Murray in check in a lot of different places. But that is a signature win. That really is. Now you hold your own destiny. You lead the NFC West. And if you're the San Francisco 49ers, like, that was a pretty good day for you. You go in and you have a terrible day when you lose. But you look at the scores when you get to the locker room and you're like, I hope Seattle won, and they did. Because if Arizona wins, the gap gets a little bit larger to the front. But now Arizona loses, you're only a game back. You're only a game back from first in your division, so you're not out of it. Obviously, it's a tough. The San Francisco 49ers do have a tough schedule. We don't know about Brock Purdy, but going to Buffalo is it's going to be tough. The Buffalo Bills are red hot, but they're also coming off of a bye. So it's like, now they're rested. It's going to be a little bit tougher. But the San Francisco 49ers, right? Like, I didn't think that they were going to be, obviously, that was going to be a good game because you're losing Trent Williams. You're losing Nick Bosa. And, obviously without Brock, it's going to be really tough. I also thought that they were going to play maybe Pastor or not, but they went with Brandon Allen instead, who actually played not terrible. I thought he played fairly well in a lot of spots. I thought the pass catchers didn't really help him enough. Debo, 3 balls slipped right through his hands. One of them actually ended up being the 7th interception for Xavier McKinney. So a lot of things that didn't go well. And then say what you will, but the quarterback doesn't play defense. And, you're giving up that many rushing yards to Josh Jacobs and just that run game in general. It's like, come on, man. Like that defense just didn't play well enough to win. And we always talk about Jordan Love needs to take care of the ball. He did. I will say, though, however, if you actually watch that game, there was 2, maybe 3 opportunities that the Niners secondary had to get an interception. But that's why they play defensive back and not receiver. That's just what it is. The hands are just, it's hitting somebody right in the chest and they don't come down with it. It's a little bit tough, but yeah, I felt like Jordan definitely gives you some chances to get him. So, and he definitely did against San Francisco. They just didn't come up with it. But that is what it is. I feel like, again, the Niners are not out of it. You're 1 game back with with everybody. Obviously, the Rams lose as well. So, you're right there. The division is not running away from you. Are the Niners what we thought they were? Probably not. But, they've been hurt. They've been hurt for a majority of the year, right? With CMC, obviously now with Brock, and I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but I think I do have a level of trust. Look, that's just what it is. But I think I have a level of trust with Kyle, with that quarterback, and with that offense. I do think that a lot of them have to play better. But losing Brandon Ayuk didn't help. Losing Nick Bosa doesn't help. Losing Trent Williams doesn't help, and losing Brock doesn't help. But I do think that if there's a team that could go on a run after Thanksgiving, it's probably the San Francisco 49ers, right? We've seen it before happen in the NFL. We've seen it more recently as well with some of those teams. The Bills last year. So I do think that it is possible, and, we kind of hope that it does happen, because I think that we want to see the Niners play against some of these great teams, especially in the NFC North, right? Like the Lions, the Vikings, the Packers. Yeah, we want to see that. But if we don't see that and we get to see Kyler, or if we get to see Geno Smith, I think that is just as good. And I think the NFC North, again, as great of a division as it is, and it's great, it's still tough to tell, because they're going to, the 3 of them are going to have to play each other. And, divisional games, especially if it's like in the playoffs or late in the year, you never know what's going to happen, because they know you so well. You know them really well. Who can out-execute who? What does it come down to? Is it this, that, and the other, right? I think the Vikings played the Lions really well. I think the Packers play the Lions pretty well. The Lions played, the Packers and the Vikings pretty well, and all 3 of them played the Bears extremely well. And that's where we'll kind of end for this episode with the Chicago Bears, because we started with the Chicago Bears. What I say in the start, man, if you want loyalty, be fans. If you want loyalty, find a partner that's a Chicago Bears fan. Because that organization is in a tough spot, man. It just is. Hopefully they figure it out. I just don't think that they will, because they haven't shown us anything to figure out. But look, we're heading into a Monday Night Football game that I think will determine a lot in the AFC. Baltimore at Los Angeles is the Horror Bowl. Jim and John Harbaugh, the head coaches of their respective teams. I like the Baltimore Ravens to bounce back. They haven't played since I think since the Steelers game, so I like them to bounce back. It's not going to be easy, I don't think. But it might be, right? That's the thing with the Baltimore Ravens. You just never know with that team. You just never know, because it always comes down to can they stop the pass game well enough? Can they defend the red zone well enough? And can they limit penalties? They're the most penalized team in the NFL. Some of their, and they're built to stop the run. And they've done a pretty good job of that. But then, the penalties really hurt them. And then Lamar's bailed them out on a lot of too many things, right? When you're starting 1-15 and 1-20 and 2nd and 20, it does catch up to you as an offense as well. So I think that, they have to execute a little bit better and just not be penalized. And their defensive secondary has to play a little bit better. But you're right there. I think, the Baltimore Ravens can beat everybody, but they can also lose to anybody. But if I was a betting man, I would go with the Baltimore Ravens 2.5 point favorites on the road. I also like the over 50.5 tonight. If you like pure football and just sports in general, obviously we didn't cover F1 happening in Vegas. It was an incredible race. We didn't cover some of the storylines in the NBA yet, which we will get to this week. I think it's going to be more NBA leaning as well. We didn't get to some of the cricket stuff that I wanted to talk about. But football just happened. Obviously, beautiful Monday, and football is just so great right now. We didn't even get into a lot of the college things, a lot of the SEC upsets. I'm so excited for college football playoffs, the expanded playoffs that they're making this year. It's going to be interesting to see how late, how they come together with some of those teams. Obviously, behind the NFL, college football is probably the second most followed sport that I look at. College football is incredible. Everything about it is great. The storylines are great. Some of the teams and everything that happened this past weekend with some of the big teams falling. Obviously, the Bamas, this, that. Some of the SEC teams struggling. We'll kind of see. So we'll discuss that in the next one as well. Like and subscribe. We're trying to grow this channel as big as we can. We'll catch you on Game On with Nikon next time. See you then.